Hi everyone, it's Katie. So, this week's episode of the Hot Slice is a little bit different than usual. We wanted to take this opportunity to reflect on 2020 by listening to some of our favorite interviews, success stories, and advice going into the new year. So, thank you so much for listening to the podcast and your ongoing support. And Happy New Year from all of us at Pizza Today. And we'll see you in 2020. Enjoy.
What are some of those home runs you've hit and successes that you've really, been able to look at now and said, yeah, man, we've come so far?
I'll say probably obviously there's been a lot of successes, a lot of things that have happened, with you guys, Pizza Today, that we're so grateful for. But I would say, if I were to kind of like encapsulate what I am most proud about, it would be trying to make our restaurant as busy as possible every single day.
Yeah.
And you guys know this. I mean, it was a goal of mine to get up on that Hot 100 list, and we've continued to grow on that. But I'll say that, we made a couple decisions a couple of years ago when third party came out, right? Because there were a lot of places where it was like, well, why have your own delivery drivers now? And I looked at it and I was like, well, I don't want to become reliant on a third party company. I do third party delivery, but I'm not 100% reliant on them to get my food out the door. And in this crisis, that was obviously a very good decision. And I look for ways of utilizing our own drivers to do more in the future. But I will say, though, that that constant focus of increasing sales per unit, and that has been hands down the biggest success. In my 1,500 square foot restaurant, it employs 40 people. People go, that's insane. But when you look at the volume that we do, and you look at how many tickets we can knock out in 1 hour, it takes an army of people to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If my concept was not all about trying to maximize sales 24/7, then the crisis that we're in right now would be extremely excruciating. But because on a per unit level, we have pushed so hard to maximize sales, we are able to deal with this crisis. And so I hope all that, I know that's,
but that goes back to you being a systems guy. And I think that all comes down to systems. Am I correct?
That you are correct. It's when you do, there are times we do 76 tickets an hour, right?
You have to have it streamlined really good.
Have it all well put together. And I'm not going to lie. It's not easy to do. And there are people, of course, that will come in and go, man, it's like real crazy in here. But that is what it's about. If I can have somebody come in and start making pizza the minute they walk in, and literally they never stop making pizza, like that's my goal. And I think that right now with this crisis happening, thank God that was my goal. Because now what's happened is we've expanded our customer base so massively because we can handle so much that right now in this crisis, we have all those customers that we've been pushing to try to take care of over all these years, being in business 13 years now. We have all these customers now, and they're all coming out, they're all supporting. And if a couple of years ago, I hit a pretty good sale, let's just say I hit $1 million. There's a lot of owners that at that moment would have been like, cool, it's a success, let's move on.
Yeah.
I'm like this. No, I've still got people that can be busier. I've still got more mouths that I can feed. I still can do more. And so the fact that you can have one location and do $1 million, well, it's like, well, how much more can I get it to do? You know, that's been the mindset for many, many, many years. And that mindset is definitely paying off.
Do you have any rules of thumb you like to abide by? For example, I don't like to put more than 4 toppings on a pizza, or 2 toppings, or 8 toppings, or whatever that number is. Is there, at what point does it become too much? Like when a customer wants, I want pepperoni, sausage, bacon, pineapple, jalapeno, green peppers, black olive, and they just get out of control and they're up to like 18 toppings. Do you ever just, at what point do you say, wow, this is not going to work?
I mean, I say it pretty quickly. I'm not huge on like loading up pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because like our dough it's not like a super crunchy dough, so it gets soggy if you add like 1,000 toppings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have green pepper, pineapple, or black olives, so that takes away some of that.
No green pepper. That's unique.
No. I'm sure there will be 1,000 people who disagree with this, but I don't think it really has any flavor. I don't think it adds anything.
You have roasted red peppers?
I mean, we don't have that, but I do love them.
Okay.
Now, the no pineapple, is that because you're in the camp that says it's a mortal sin to put pineapple on a pizza, or are there other reasons for that?
I mean, if people want pineapple, they can have it. I really like to focus on like fresh ingredients, and most pineapple, like I know you can get a fresh pineapple, but
that's a lot of work.
Unless it's a lot of work. It's a lot of waste. Unless I created like a special pizza for it, I don't think I'd have it. So I'm not against pineapple. I'm not gonna
Makes sense. You know, one of my favorite topping combinations. Yeah, one of my favorite topping combinations is like a really spicy sopressata with pineapple, jalapeno, and like some hot honey. That's
okay. Well, that sounds good.
That speaks to my soul. So you know, when people like are ready to wage World War III over whether or not pineapple should be on a pizza menu, I'm like, hey, anchovies have been on pizza menus from, you know.
But they're so good, anchovies.
See, that's where I can't do. They're too salty for me. I can't do the anchovies.
Okay,
I don't mind. I've come a long way with anchovies. Like now, when I get a Caesar salad, like they have to be in there. And on pizza, I have had them. And even like I've come around to olives too. Like I used to not be, because I didn't really like salty things. So to have olives, I didn't know that there was anything but those little black ones in the can that taste like nothing.
Yeah. See, we do Castle Beltrano. So we have olives, and I feel like they're like, you know, they're very mild green olives. I think it's just the color that throws people off.
Yeah, I'm all about the green olives. I think they have more flavor personally. Now, my wife disagrees. She loves the black olives on pizza, but give me the green. That's cool. You know, Tony, you've overseen or operated or owned several different concepts. You're always on the go. You're always on the move. You're always experimenting and trying new things. What goes through your mind? What's kind of your planning process, or your intellectually, how does your mind work when you're planning out a new concept? And you have to take the holistic approach. You have to think about the menu, what kind of menu you're going to present, but you also have to think about the name and the ambiance and what kind of decor, like you just talked about. You have to take all of that into consideration. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about your process, what it's like when you're sitting down and planning a new, a brand new concept, or in this case with Capos, you essentially did create a new concept in a way.
Yeah. I think I like to do everything. When it comes to that, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. I am the designer. I enjoy it. When I look at it, first I get into the chef's mind. I say, okay, I want to do anything and everything. House-made sausage, pull mozzarella, let's do it. And then you're the guy that pulls back. I'm the chef. The young chef in me says, let's do everything. And then the smart guy that's been around for 30 years kind of goes back and says, well, let's execute, and let's make sure we can execute the menu and we don't overdo it. And I can add something 3 months later. So when it comes to the menu, a lot of what are people asking for? What do people want? I listen. And this one, I really listened. I swallowed that pineapple pride. And I said, let me do that. Let me do a ranch pizza. Let me do what people want. It's a service industry. And if somebody wants to get my margarita and put spinach on it. And even though I tell them, hey, that's not really going to work out, will I adapt and will I do it for the customer? I typically would. And when it comes to, a lot of people say, of course you would. But when you're in up to a level in certain parts of the country, like New York and LA, San Francisco, and you're at a not just so much a pizza parlor, but you're not even, we're still a pizzeria, but we're definitely more chef driven if you look at a lot of the pizzas we do. But am I able to adapt and do that? I'm not giving $2 off, $1 off, and everything like that. We're not going in the couponing game like restaurants do, but we are willing to do what customers want. And if you ever are in the chef world, I've been around guys that I have hired, and they're like, F that, no way. You're going to do that. You're going to screw up your pizza. Go tell that customer, man. I'm like, listen, the server just made $3 on top of that pizza. I'm okay. I've done this before. It's just, if the customer wants it, if they really muck it up, then I'll go to the table and say, look, the Calitalia has fig and prosciutto and balsamic reduction. Put an anchovies on that really wouldn't really well. So I just want to let you know that. It's a pizza I want on the Food Network. That pizza's special to me. Okay, that's different. But if a guy got a pepperoni and it's a standard combo, we would add to it. So when I look at that, and I'm a bit of a timeless operator, I like to walk into a concept, and especially if you see Tony's, Giovanni's, Slice House, and you also look at Capo's. I like timeless. I like that feel. Timeless to me is a very classic design. Sometimes I look at efficiency. At one time I used to have horseshoe booths, and when it comes to horseshoe booths, those aren't practical when it comes to seating and sitting down customers. So a banquette that runs along the wall, when you have a 4-top, 2-top, 4-top, 2-top, can be pushed together to make a 10-top or a 12-top rather than having horseshoe booths. So there's this side of me that's very artistic, that looks at things and say, this is what it is. And then there's times that I've pulled out something that I built that was 10 grand. And I said, you know what, we need to redesign this. It's wrong. It's not practical. Capo's was the thing. I did that. Actually took me a lot of years to do that. We had these 3 giant horseshoe booths that fit 6, 6, and 6. You couldn't put them together. And then I made it a big banquette down the line and made it a 2-4, 2-4, 2-4, 2-4, and which could have been almost a 20-top. So being versatile in a restaurant's important. Being comfortable in a restaurant's important. Communal is important to a younger crowd, but it's not important anymore. So all those concepts that were communal and had those long bench style seats or high top style tables that aren't really working right now, because communal has kind of changed a lot because of the pandemic. People aren't sitting next to each other as much as they were able to. So for me, I think of the name, I think of the concept and the style. I think of the look of the restaurant, the entry. I like my bar to be a focal point. I like people sitting at my bar. People eat at my bars. That's one thing that's important. They're not just drinking. So when it comes to that bartender, that he or she needs to know that they need to know the menu. They need to know it back in and back and forward. Sometimes you'll get bartenders that just want to serve cocktails, but not at my restaurants. And you also look at it as, the beer profile, the cocktail menu, the wine program, if it matters. I mean, you think of the wine program at like Tony's, it's very extensive. We won Wine Spectator for years. And all of a sudden you walk into Capo's, into Pizza Rock in like Las Vegas or Sacramento, and it's shots and beers and maybe some cocktails and a very, very limited wine list. So if you look at the concept of what it is and how it is when you walk in, is this shots and beers? Am I going to have 100 beers, which include taps and bottles and cans? Or is it just going to be like, 8 local beers, which I did at Capo's? I pulled most of my imported bottles and cans and taps out. I overhauled it. I saw that a lot of these local breweries were having trouble, like Triple Voodoo but places that you haven't heard of, Pine Street, a lot of guys that were all local that were having trouble and people were pulling their beer left and right. I went to them and say, I'm going to make 80% of my taps all local. Let's try to help out 4 Points, and let's try and do that. And I even did an overhaul to actually the beer program at Capo. So I look at it from front to back and top to bottom. I think about everything. And we even think about, like, what do the bathrooms look like? And it's just so important of what's the door going into the kitchen at Capo's look like? Should it feel like you're going into this back room, the hideout kind of feel? It's just, there's so many elements involved into a restaurant. It's just not about making great pizza. That will just not, bring people in. It's the experience, and it's really everything. And I try to look at everything. Even the design of the menu, where pizzas are placed on the menu are so important. And does the name of that concept match the vibe when you walk in? Does Pizza Rock when you walk in? Is it the vibe? And does Capo's when you walk in? You're like, wow, this is old school. I wonder what's around this corner. And when you just come into Tony's, you're like, geez, this is awesome. This is like a classic, timeless kind of look.
Hey everyone, it's Katie, design lead here at Pizza Today, here to interrupt your podcast with a quick commercial. Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide. For over 32 years, the multi-award-winning PDQ POS system has consistently been a top-rated point-of-sale system for pizzerias, delivery, and quick service. With built-in and seamless integrations to all top-tier third-party platforms, native online ordering and rewards, contactless POS functionality, and a delivery toolkit app that enhances all aspects of delivery, PDQ POS will help your restaurant achieve sustained growth while saving time, effort, and costs. Learn more today at pdqpos.com or call 877-968-6430. That's 877-968-6430. And now, back to the slice.
I'm lucky enough that I kind of grew up in this business with him, and it's been a great ride. I can't complain about that at all.
Being able to teach that to other people and explain it and just have that passion, it seems like he's been able to instill that into you, where you're now, you're spreading that to others as well.
Yeah, you try, you try to leave the world a better place. You try, and you hope that people are listening to you if they ask you a question, or they, want help. And it's the same thing I tell the kids here. I work, there's a ton of high school kids that work here with me. And I tell them, I don't want you to view this as just a job. Like, chances are you're not going to be here the rest of your life like me. You're going to find something else. But I want to instill in you how you need to treat people and how you need to work with people and what to expect. And whether you're going to be a mechanic or a plumber, or you're going to be a bellman at the hotel, whatever the hell it is, I just want you to be the best at that. That's why I need you to give a shit while you're here.
Yeah, they'll take. You're going to take something away from that positively.
Yeah, and it's been really, really rewarding to see. Like, I still talk with a lot of former employees, and they say, I remember when you told me this, or I remember when we did this. And it's weird because a lot of the kids now, I'm just as old as their parents. And some of them I'm older than, which is really creepy because I still listen to like hip hop and like and all of those other things. And like we like similar music and stuff, but I'm like, they don't view me as I'm old enough to be their dad, even though it might even be older than their father, which is really, really, really trips me out sometimes because I don't think of myself being that old.
Right.
But until I look in the mirror and I see the gray in my beard, and then I'm like, okay, I'm definitely that old. But so it's just, you kind of take that on too. And that's, like you said, that's one thing I've learned from John. You just try to teach people, not just about pizza. It's not, pizza in our world, pizza is everything, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a whole world out there that you need to pay attention to. And certain things that, you just need to be better at. So I try to apply that through pizza. If you give a shit about this or X, Y, or Z, then you're going to, you're not going to automatically leave here and start caring about something. I want you to start caring about something here. You know what I mean?
What's probably the most common, or maybe the couple most common things that people reach out to you for knowledge about that you can kind of, share with us, and maybe head them off before they ask the question?
In general, especially the last 3 years, it's how do I get and maintain employees? That's the biggest one. That's the overall restaurant problem that exists. In the last 6 months, it's been how should I handle the PR, or how should I approach this on social media, whether it's customers trying to mask shame, and the very real situation with race relations in America. I had a lot of operators asking me like, hey, should I send out an email about that we support multiracial integration of staff? And I my go-to reaction was, make sure your house is in order first before you do that, because it'll look like lip service if you have a very homogeneous group of managers and you don't live what you preach, and then you put it out there, you'll look like a hypocrite. And there's nothing that Americans hate more than hypocrisy.
Yeah.
So that was my advice there. In general, for staff and how to maintain staff, the approach of 2005 to 2010 was, here's a test, fill out this long thing, come on site, fill out an application, and then we'll call you back maybe. And now that's just not applicable. You have to be the easiest, most accessible online portal for applying. But conversely, people go too far and they spend a bunch of money on Monster or Glassdoor, and then they're not getting enough candidates. My win that I've seen as of late has been letting people apply on Facebook, because every single entry-level employee, or at least 95% of them, will have a Facebook. You can target who you want there and then go through the applications. Sometimes it's already built for you and you don't need to spend a ton of effort. Just let these portals do their thing.
Mike, what's employee turnover like at Andolini's? Obviously, in the restaurant industry in general, if you're under 200%, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
What's your turnover like, and what methodologies do you utilize to keep good people in their jobs and not leaving Andolini's?
Yeah, this year is obviously an anomaly,
Sure.
But in general, I like to keep it in the 20. On managers, I want to keep it in the 20% and under.
Wow.
On entry level employees, I want to keep it around 45% and under year over year, and we hit that metric.
That's amazing. How do you hit that? I mean, you're well aware of the industry statistics. I mean, it's generally well over 100%, oftentimes up to 200%. So how are you making that happen? Is it better pay, or is it just not being a jerk and treating people with kindness? Is it that simple?
It's a pretty multifaceted answer, but it's also simple. I mean, people say, okay, I threw money at them, why aren't they happy? And there's much more to it than that. People have direct motivators. The direct motivator for someone might be monetary, but monetary means that they feel stability. So if it's someone has a bunch of kids, yeah, that's going to be a motivator, but they might be able to get money somewhere else. And that's always going to be a plight of the restaurant industry. So you have to establish stability in some other places. For high school age kids, what are they seeking the most? Acceptance. And especially in millennials and zennials, they're seeking a path that, hey, I am doing something with my life. I am not spinning my wheels right now. So by having other ways we're going to do a donation tonight. Would you like to be a part of it? Where are you at in school right now? Where do you want to go? How can we help you get there? And that only occurs if the managers are doing evaluations on a pretty regular level, at least every 3 months, so that they always are on a path towards something, because apathy builds antipathy, and then antipathy leads to people leaving. Along with my managers, there's a lot of my managers that could easily get a job somewhere else that's higher paying. The way to keep them around, and it's not because I'm underpaying them, it's just I'm maxed out on, and don't get me wrong, I'm paying very well for my industry. They can, I believe highly in the concept of giftology. If I was to give someone, hey, here's $200, you did great this month. Okay, cool. If I was to then look up on their Instagram, see that they're a Jimmy Buffett fan, in the past get them tickets for it, but if nothing else, go to eBay, spend all of 3 minutes of my life looking up rare Jimmy Buffett find something, boom, it's $150. I'm down saving $50, mind you, at this point.
Wow.
Signed Jimmy Buffett record from 1983, something like that. Hey, and then just have it on the desk at their office. And they're like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. It must be for you. Play it off super chill, and boom, that builds something.
So, Polly, you spent many years in the corporate world, and then one day you decided, I'm going to go live a new dream. Talk a little bit about that.
Not one day.
Not one day?
Not one day. One decade.
One decade. Okay.
Yeah, I picked a career in corporate information technology. I wasn't really suited for it, but that's where the future was supposed to be, and it was kind of cool to be involved in that. I was looking for something that I could, be proud of, and but I really wasn't a geek, and I entered a world of geeks, and as I tried to climb the corporate ladder, I realized that it was a lot harder for me because I really wasn't built like they were, but I did it for a long time, 30 years.
Wow.
Because I was young and we started making commitments. We wanted to own a house. Now you have a mortgage. We want to have children, and you kind of get trapped in that. And I thought for a long time I was going to keep rising, but I hit that glass, non-geek glass ceiling, right? And I started, thinking about doing other things. And it took me a long time. I became a consultant after 18 years working for AT&T and affiliated companies. And I went out, and that wasn't fun either as a consultant, because again, I wasn't a geek, and I'd wind up competing with people and having to go out of town to find work because I couldn't just sit home. And then I became determined to do something else, and I searched for different things. I owe a great deal of credit to being a multi-level marketeer. My wife and I became Amway distributors in the mid-90s, and although it wasn't very lucrative for us, part of the process is to go to conferences and listen to motivational audio tapes and read motivational books, and it taught me to believe in myself and to make commitments. And it also taught me that when you're working for somebody else, you're working for somebody else's dreams.
Right.
And I was determined at that point to have my own business.
Did you know that was going to take you into the pizza business? Was that always
none
the plan?
whatsoever? I thought it was going to take me to the top of the Amway world, right?
Yeah.
But things in that world kind of changed. Doesn't work for everybody, but in the mid '90s, because the internet came around, and that kind of changed everything. But I did know. I didn't think I wanted to open up a restaurant. What I used to do at home, I'd work all week, and I dream about entertaining people on the weekends, cooking for them, playing music for them, having parties. And but people would tell me, oh, you really seem to enjoy this. You should open up a restaurant. But it wasn't for me. I kept telling people, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But eventually, I knew I had to do something, and I was also a pizza enthusiast, which that kind of grew. For most of my life, I loved a good New York slice. That to me was pizza. But I discovered other styles of pizza also in the mid '90s, and we started going on pizza tours and trying out different styles of pizza, mostly in the New York area. Along the way, I had discovered that operating a pizzeria although it's challenging, it's a far simpler process than a restaurant, full service restaurant.
Oh,
And that
yes.
molded me, and it allowed me to start thinking about taking the risk, because you have to take risks, and I wasn't taking enough risks. I got the belief that I could do it. That was very important, because if you don't believe you can really accomplish something, you're not going to go through all of the pain that it takes to make it happen.
Right.
But I was given through the gift of observing other pizza makers who were successful, people like Mark Iacano of Lucale, Matthew Palombino of Motorino, Chris Bianco, not Chris Bianco as much, because Chris Bianco is in the pizza world, his whole life just about, or at least in the food world. But someone like Mark Iacono, when he was 38 years old, he had worked in some kind of marble countertop fabrication work or something. And he decided to open up a pizzeria, and he did it on a shoestring. And he worked 2.5 years building out his little space. And then within a week, he was the most popular pizzeria in New York, literally. And that emboldened me. I said, here's somebody who didn't go to culinary school, didn't go to Italy to learn how to make pizza, but he has really, made an instant success out of himself. And that helped me feel that, I could go ahead and take the chance.